Hello everybody, and welcome to Whiz, your family-friendly podcast where we discuss D&D Onslaught, Dice Masters, HeroClix, and the other entertaining games made by Wizkids. I'm WizDad, that copy of Onslaught that patiently is waiting for you to finally open it up and break out all those minis. I will be your guide for navigating the competitive and casual scenes of the Wizkids Triforce of gaming. It is Onslaught Wednesday. Today we are talking about that faction no one really plays, and it kind of looks interesting. That's right, we're talking about many arrows. But before we get to that, it's of course time for the Wizkids Progress Report.
Kowalski, Progress Report.
Alright, welcome to the Wizkids Progress Report. Today, there's not a lot of news to talk about as far as upcoming releases. Instead, I'm going to recap the schedule for D&D Onslaught at Worlds. We are 2 weeks away. It is rapidly upon us. So if you are not prepared, you need to be prepared. Now is the time to put the finishing touches on the teams you're going to be playing, or at least the roster you're going to be bringing. So just as a reminder, technically Wizkids Worlds does start on Thursday, September 14th. There's not really any D&D Onslaught happening on Thursday. It is pretty much just HeroClix, which is a little odd. I would think they would have Onslaught BRs, the new Battle Royale format, happening on Thursday, but I think partially that's because there is just maybe the judge that does Onslaught is not getting there until Friday, perhaps. Either way, I'm sure you'll be able to find players to play with. I'll be there on Thursday. I'll be playing in the HeroClix events, but I should be available to play for some Onslaught if anybody wants to. Friday, September 15th, that's when all the good stuff starts. That's when the World Championship begins at 10 a.m. on Friday, September 15th. This should be in Central Time, just as a reminder, because Memphis is in Central Time. But yes, Worlds officially begins Friday, September 15th, 10 a.m. There's nothing listed here about, how long it's going to go. It'll just be kind of the Swiss rounds, and then single elimination, the final cut. The end of the World Championships actually starts September 16th, Saturday at 9 a.m. So the Swiss will happen at 10 o'clock on Friday. You'll play multiple rounds, probably like 5 or 6, depending on how many players. And then that'll cut to the World Championship single elimination, which will be Saturday morning at 9. Also, starting Saturday morning at 9 is the Onslaught Maps and Monsters Battle Royales. It does not actually list any Battle Royales for Onslaught starting on Friday. I hope that's just an oversight. I hope that's one where they're going to have more to do with Onslaught on Friday, especially for those that aren't playing in the championship, or like when you're done with the championship playing in one. But if not, they do start on Saturday. We are expected to hear more about the scenarios that are going to be used at Worlds this coming week. Maybe at the end of this week or next week, we should start hearing about the scenarios. I do know that there are going to be some scenarios. This was posted in the Onslaught D&D Onslaught Discord, that there's going to be some scenarios from Frogmire on there. So that's going to be really cool. That's mostly going to be for the single elimination side, I believe. But it's going to be a fun time. So definitely, if you're going to Wizkids Worlds anyway, you're going for Onslaught, hit me up. Hopefully I'm going to have a WizDad shirt on. That's my goal, is I'm going to make a couple. I'm hoping I could get around to it this weekend. So I'll be wearing a shirt that shows that I'm WizDad. Hit me up, say hi. I'll have my Onslaught stuff. I'm hoping to play in the World Championship. The problem is that I've committed myself to playing in Team Worlds for HeroClix, which happens an hour earlier than the Onslaught World. So I'm going to kind of peek and see how many people have signed up for Worlds and see if I can sneak my way in. Maybe take a 0-2 loss when I'm done with Team Worlds, and when I'm done with Team Worlds, I'll go into the Onslaught Worlds with an 0-2 record and just see how I do. I just want to play some Onslaught, man. That's really what I want. And I wish WizKids, if anybody is listening, please don't schedule your events back to back. There are HeroClix players like myself that like Onslaught, and there's Onslaught players that probably like HeroClix. So definitely, if you're interested in Onslaught, come out to Memphis. It's a great time. Wizkids Worlds is amazing. There's also on Friday night, I believe. Let me double check. Yeah, Friday night at 8 p.m. there's a fan appreciation presentation. That's where they kind of showcase all the upcoming WizKids stuff. They showed some of that at Nationals. There'll be more at Worlds. I'm hoping we will see not just, more pictures of Frogmire. I'm hoping we see maybe like the next faction pack maybe, an expansion of some sort. I'm hoping we also maybe see like a cheaper version, like a trimmed down, maybe unpainted minis or something version that is more new person friendly, because I think that's definitely what the game needs. But that's all for Worlds. I'll cover this event again next week, just in case anybody isn't aware. I'll talk more about what I'm potentially bringing to Worlds in the event that I'm, playing. But let's go ahead and let's talk some mini arrows. I think you're going to be surprised by this faction review with Fishing with WizDad.
Get your gear, little man. We're going fishing. And I mean now.
All right, everybody, we're here. We're talking about some mini arrows. I wasn't lying about the faction that nobody really wants to play. I know it's kind of relative new when it comes to being backed by the Red Wizards. Red Wizards are flashy. They look a lot cooler. Mini arrows, when it originally came out, the original 6 are, there's not really a lot of magic users. There's a druid and a bard. But it was kind of, I don't want to say lackluster. It wasn't lackluster. The expansion to that, or the faction pack, I never know which one is which. But the additional 4 characters do add a lot. It does add a warlock and a wizard to the mini arrows, and that's what we're kind of going to go through. Before I get to the characters, I do want to say I did go back. I mentioned in my last episode it'd be interesting to see the averages, the average health. And I did go back and look at each faction and basically took each faction of the 4 factions, not counting sellswords because there's only 4 of them, I think, maybe 6 of them right now. Out of the 4, I looked at the average health of the faction as a whole. Last place, as you can guess, is Red Wizards with a 9.3, so they're averaging around 9 health. Next is Harper's at 10.1. Zentarium is 10.6, and then Many Arrows is just a flat 11. So Many Arrows, just like its namesake, has the most, on average, HP out of all the factions. And you can see that when you look at all the character dials. There's only one character at all that has 8, and that's a cleric of all. You would think a cleric would have a higher constitution. So let's break it down. Let's go through each one, kind of like I've been doing each week. Let's talk about the mini arrows, which ones I like, which ones I would play. I don't own any of the mini arrows right now. I'm still trying to, I played so many games, Dice Masters, HeroClix, and Onslaught. It's a little difficult to keep up with some of them. We're going to start with Snuck's Tree Friend, the Druid. Healer, roll. Standard close attack is the sickle, 1 enemy at range 1, +4 to hit, 2 damage. That's as standard as they come. You've just got a close attack that deals 2 damage. Pretty standard. Thorn Whip is the range, standard. 1 enemy at range 2 to 3, +4 to hit, 1 damage. If hit, move target 1 space closer to you, so that's cool. A little bit of board manipulation. Then critical effect, +1 damage. After the attack, reduce the cooldown of your wild shape bear by 1. So we got a bear coming up here in just a second. The stats are 4 movement, 12 defense, 10 health. Healer roll once again. First cooldown ability is Good Berry, bonus action, 1 turn cooldown, 1 friendly at range 0 to 2, heal 1. Pretty good heal with a very quick turnaround. A 1 turn cooldown heal is pretty nice. It's only 1, but that 1 could come in handy. And then if you don't feel like healing, you could do the other 1 cooldown, Wild Shape Bear, bonus action, 4 turn cooldown, heal 2, gain Bear. Bear is +1 to speed, +2 to hit, and +1 damage with your close attack. You cannot use your cooldown abilities or items. So that would take it up to a 4 hit, 3 damage with a close, 5 speed. You heal 2. That's not bad. It's not bad at all. And then you've got the reaction, which is just an opportunity attack. So, standard opportunity attack. After an adjacent enemy moves, if it is no longer adjacent, make a free close attack against that enemy, rolling 1d20. So, pretty standard for Snucks. Level up abilities, you got 2. And these are actually both 2 pretty good ones. Unicorn Spirit, Goodberry has heal 2 instead of heal 1. With a 1-turn cooldown, you could be pumping out a lot of health with Snucks. But you could also choose Hawk Spirit. Friendly characters at range 0 to 2 have +2 to hit while attacking. It really is going to depend. This is one where there's not really a bad one. You could choose either one. +2 to hit might be good. I've found it's pretty easy to hit in this game. Snucks has, for example, a 12 defense. If you've got a +4 hit, you've got 2 d20s to roll an 8 or higher. The chances are pretty high. If you make that you needed a 6 or higher, because you're rolling a +6 on a 12, I don't know how much that's really gonna make it better. But if your team is all healed up and you don't need the healing, hey, it might be better. Next, we're going to talk about Paul Maljax, the Barbarian. He's your vanguard on the team. Great Axe short attack, 1 enemy at range 1, +4 to hit, 2 damage. What? Shocker. No ranged attack. It's a Barbarian. Not that surprised. Critical, +1 damage, +2 if you're attacking with a close. I don't know. Or I guess when you're attacking with a standard close. Don't know how many instances you're going to have where you're not attacking with that. That's interesting. And I'm sorry, I forgot to mention on Snucks, the level up ability is gain 1 XP after you heal a target to its maximum health. So that one's a little bit tricky to pull off since Snucks is only healing 1. Pa has a 4 movement, 12 defense, 13 health. So this is kind of where you're getting that 11 average. Pa is helping to raise that up. Pa gains 1 XP after you are attacked by an enemy. And then the cooldown abilities. You have Eagle Flight, bonus action, 3-turn cooldown. Move up to 3 spaces. Enemies cannot take reactions after this move. So that's pretty good. Kind of a free disengage to run over and hit somebody else. And then you have Eagle's Rage. So this is, I guess, the Wild Totem Eagle form Barbarian subclass. Eagle's Rage, bonus. It's kind of a once per game effect. Gain Eagle's Rage, deal +1 damage, reduce incoming damage by 1, and enemies roll 1d20 when attacking you. So that's pretty neat. That's a pretty good one. You get in the middle of a bunch of people, you do Eagle's Rage, and you've got you got a little bit of time to reduce the damage, and they're probably not hitting you. And his level up, once again, is when you are attacked, not when you're hit. So he doesn't have to be hit. He doesn't have to take damage to level up. His reaction is combat reflexes. We've talked about this before. After an adjacent enemy moves, if it's no longer adjacent, make a free attack against the enemy. So different than opportunity attack, but still cooldown 1. His level up, persistent rage, refresh Eagle's Rage if it is already on cooldown. Eagle's Rage is now 2-turn cooldown. So that's pretty good. To get consistent, Eagle's Rage would make Paw pretty good. Brutal critical. Your attacks are critical successes on rolls of 9 through 20. Your critical effect does an additional +1 damage. Ooh. So you're really wanting... Pa is pretty decent. He doesn't do anything particularly special, I'll say that. But you're really, really, really wanting Pa to level up, because either of those 2 abilities are good. Brutal critical is very good, because you're potentially dealing 4 to 5 damage each hit. Like, that is good. But his abilities don't give him any additional hits. He's only hitting 1. So as opposed to some of the other characters, if you're on a team with Sedona or something. Now, there's another character on here that we'll talk about that'll help this a little bit. But he's really wanted to get in there and level up quickly. He is somewhat ignorable. Because you could probably... Well, 4 movement is average, so... I like Pa. I don't know if he's not anything special, and this might be one of the reasons people were turned off a bit by the many arrows. Let's talk about Yavolda, the Unbroken, the Paladin. Short close attack standard action is 1 enemy at range 1. Hey, a little bit of a shakeup. Plus 3 to hit, 3 damage. Uh-oh. Critical, plus 1 damage, and the target gains rooted. They can't take move actions. Slasher, plus 3 to hit with your standard close if the target is rooted. So that's pretty neat. 4 movement, 15 defense, 15. That's pretty beefy. 13 health. Yvolda levels up, gains XP, I should say, after an adjacent enemy character is KO'd. Cooldown abilities: Ensnaring Strike, bonus, 3-turn cooldown. Gain Ensnaring Strike. After you hit with a close attack, the target gains rooted. That's pretty good. Pretty good. The other one is Nature's Wrath, standard, 1 enemy at range 1 to 3, plus 5 to hit, 2 damage. If hit, the target gains rooted. So, kind of a double up combo with Yvolda. Get her up there. Use your Ensnaring Strike because your first hit will be able to make it where they can't move, and then you follow up the next turn with a plus 6 to hit to deal 3 damage. Is pretty good. So Yvolda's really your kind of move up there, root them into place, and just go to town, because she also has opportunity attack, we've explained before. Level up, there's 2 abilities. Undying Sentinel, the first time you would be KO'd, set your heart to 1 and get rid of the card, so kind of just a bring back to life. That one's kind of neat. Aura of Warding, you gain plus 4 defense against non-adjacent attacks. I actually like this one. I've mentioned before in previous episodes, when you're going against like a wizard or a warlock or something that's got like a 12 defense, and the level up ability is, hey, gain 3 defense. A 15 is not going to change much if I get a plus 5 to hit, right? If I get a plus 4, plus 5 to hit, I got to roll a 10 on 2d20s. That's not that difficult. But on Yvolda, though, 15 now goes to a 19 from ranged or non-adjacent attacks. That is significantly harder to hit. So right now, out of the close attackers, and once I didn't mention that Yvolda is melee damage. So right now, I love Yvolda as a melee damage character. She's not slow with the 3. She can get up there. She can deal damage. She goes up, ties up. Doesn't have a multi-attack. That's okay. She doesn't need it because she can get up there and root their character and then kind of tie them up for a turn or 2. And she could potentially keep doing it. She gains Ensnaring Strike, and then she has Nature's Wrath that also gives rooted. So she's probably consistently hitting with a 6, plus 6 to hit, 3 damage. And you can't get away from it. Now, you could potentially phase out if you've got, like, some of that has phasing. You could get away from it that way. But so far, I like Yvolda out of the 3 that we've talked about. Let's go on to Clonk Glowfist. A monk. Gotta love monks. Unarmed Strike. Standard, 1 enemy at range 1, plus 5 to hit, 2 damage. Sunbolt Range, standard attack, 1 enemy at range 2 to 3, plus 5, 2 to hit. So it's kind of the same range or close. That's neat. Critical, after the attack, make a closer range, rolling 1d20. So that's kind of a critical hit. Doesn't deal more damage, just means you get another hit. I like it. Clonk's stats are a 5 movement, 13 defense, 12 health. So for a monk, pretty beefy at 12. Gain 1 XP after you defeat an enemy character. Okay. Cooldown ability, Flurry of Blows. Standard, 3-turn cooldown. Make a close attack against all adjacent enemies. Each target is a separate attack. So that could be very, very good. That could very monk-like chain, right? Because you make a attack against all adjacent characters. So say you get in there, Clonk runs up. He's now in between 3 characters. He does Flurry of Blows. He makes 3 attacks. He crits on 1 of them. That means he makes another attack. So he makes a 4th attack. 3 chances to get a crit, and he can maybe do it again. I like that. That's a lot of damage that could be going out. 3-turn cooldown's not that bad. The second cooldown ability is a standard close, 3-turn cooldown. Target 1 space at range 2 to 3 plus 5 to hit. It's like a 1 splash zone for 2 damage, so Searing Sunburst. So he's got range and close potential. He is the ranged damage roll for the many arrows, which is a little unusual. He feels a little bit more close, but his close and ranged are equal when it comes to attack, to hit and damage. His reaction is just opportunity attacks. So far, not a lot of crazy reactions. We've had 3 opportunity attacks and combat reflexes. Level up ability is improved Sun Soul. Your attacks are critical successes on rolls of 18 to 20. That's pretty good. And then Sun Shield, after you're damaged by an attack, deal 1 damage to the attacker. That is good also. So not bad on the attack. Like not bad as a ranged attacker. Obviously, like next to like Gribbleshanks and stuff like that, it's hard to look at Clonk and be super thrilled with just 2 damage and no multi-attacking or anything like that. But he's got potential. It's just a little lackluster for my tasting, but he's a beefy person. 12 HP is pretty darn good for a ranged attacker. So I'll take it. Funny enough, though, the next character we're going to talk about is Bryn 2-Axe, which is a ranger, but not a ranged ranger. Bryn is a hybrid character. Hand axe standard, 1 enemy at range 1, plus 4 to hit, 2 damage, surprise. Throwing axe is your range, 1 enemy at 2 to 3, plus 3 to hit, 2 damage. Critical, kind of similar back to Paw, plus 1 damage, plus 2 damage if attacking with a close attack. 4 movement, 14 defense, 12 health. Now, Bryn does gain 1 XP at the end of their activation. So he's like a Sedona. He's like one of those that kind of could level up faster. Bryn does give you your double attack with their first cooldown ability, which is dual wield, bonus action, 3-turn cooldown, just make a close attack. So get Bryn up there, dual wield, and also do potentially their other cooldown ability, which is Whirlwind, standard, 5-turn cooldown. Target your space, plus 4 to hit. Splash, basically a radius of 2 damage. This attack does not target friendly characters. So Bryn is definitely your run in there, spin around, and maybe dual wield to hit somebody else. So pretty good. That's a lot of damage dealing out. Like, that's really good. If you have a way to manipulate your opponent a little bit more to get them into a group, Clonk and Bryn could do some serious damage to that group. But then again, if I'm playing against many arrows and I see both of those, I'm going to make sure my people are pretty far apart. Though the Whirlwind is going to catch everyone within, like, it's a 2 range radius. So that means even like 5 squares apart. So Bryn has some damage potential. It is a long cooldown for that. You're probably only going to get 1 Whirlwind out. Reaction ability is just opportunity attack. So nothing crazy there. The level up abilities is favorite enemy. You gain plus 2 defense and plus 2 to hit with your attack, with your standard close and range. That's okay. I think I prefer your close and range gain plus 1 damage with Feral's senses. It really depends on your game. If he's the only one left, or they have high defenses, you might go favorite enemy. But remember, he's probably leveling up fairly quickly, so just keep that in mind. And then finally, for the main set of many arrows, we have Pluck? I don't know how to say something with a Q at the end. Pluquet? I don't know. Who's a bard? That's your tactician. Close attack, 1 enemy, range 1, plus 4 to hit, 2 damage. Range, though, plus 1 enemy at range 1 to 4, plus 4 to hit. If hit, target is rooted. So that is very good. A very good combo with Yvolda, because she gets plus 3 to hit when a character is rooted. And that's just a ranged attack from Pluqua. Let's just call Plu. Critical +1 damage after the attack all friendly characters at range 1 to 4. Heal 1, so that's pretty sweet. And even as a bard, 4 speed, 14 defense, 9 health. 9 is not bad. Not bad at all for a bard. Because I think Chloe is still an 8. Now, Plu does have 2 level up ability, gain 1 XP after you use the cooldown ability. Pretty sweet. Cooldown abilities are Blade Ward, bonus action, 3-turn cooldown, 1 friendly at range 0 to 4. Target gains Blade Ward, reduce damage from adjacent enemies by 1. That's okay. Reducing damage by 1 could be useful. That one's a little harder to judge. It's a very case-by-case scenario on if I'm interested in that. But here's where I think Plu has potential. Warrior's Tale bonus, 4-turn cooldown. Target 1 friendly at range 1 to 4. The target makes a close attack. So playing many arrows, I feel like Plu is probably one of the key people you include on your team. To be able to pull that off, to get another attack off, could be very useful. And also being rooted, so like with him and Yvolda, like those two go hand in hand, I think, with the rooted combo. And you can, well, let me wait and get through the other 4 before I talk about team builds. Level up abilities for Pluk is Tale of the Runaway. Tale of the Runaway is a bonus action, 1 and done. Target 1 friendly character at range 1 to 4. That character makes a phase, a teleport, a warp of 4. So kind of just get out of here. Get out of Dodge. And then finally, the other one is Mystical Connection. After you use a cooldown ability, heal 1. So level up abilities are kind of so-so. Get out of Dodge, kind of teleport is nice, but it's once. So I don't know if... It really depends on how the game is going, whether you're really wanting to take that one. Alright, so let's talk about the expansion characters, the 4 that were added on. If you think about just those 6, it's really close combat oriented, which makes sense for the higher HP that Many Arrows has. But none of those besides the Plu and Yvolda combo is really like screaming at me of, oh, this is good, this does a lot of damage, this is neat. I think that's why Many Arrows kind of fell on hard times and not a lot of people were interested in Many Arrows. But let's see if the expansion pack or faction pack, I don't remember which is which. Expansion, it's the expansion pack. Let's see if that helps. We have Falanin. I'm gonna butcher that, sorry. Wizard, Vanguard, okay. Trident, close attack. Hey, tell me if you've heard of this one. 1 enemy at range 1 to 2. Oh, 1 to 2, okay. Sorry. I spoke too soon. Range 1 to 2. Plus 4 to hit, 2 damage. Ray of Frost, 1 enemy at range 2 to 5. Plus 5 to hit, 2 damage, and the target gains slow. Their movement becomes 2. Critical, you may refresh Arcane Ward. And then Amphibious, you ignore water terrain while moving. Not that big of a deal currently, because there's not a ton of water on the 2 maps that we have. But Frogmire, if that map becomes a legal map that you could play, that could change things. I assume a swamp has a lot of water. That's my guess. So let's keep that in mind. Unfortunately, though, Falanin only has a 3 movement, 14 defense, 12 health, though, for a wizard is pretty nuts. Level up potential is a gain of 1 XP after you move adjacent to an enemy that you were not adjacent to at the beginning of your activation. That's a very worded ability, but very in line with how Wizkids words things. Cooldown abilities, we've got 2. We've got Arcane Ward, bonus action, 4-turn cooldown. Gain Arcane Ward. Ignore any attacks that deal a total of 3 damage or less after any modifiers are applied. Okay. That's interesting, I guess. Then we have Dispel Magic. Bonus action, 3-turn cooldown, 1 mini at range 0 to 1. Remove 1 condition token from that mini. Okay. So those are kind of support powers, and then the reaction is just combat reflexes. Man, there's not a lot of crazy reactions on this team. It's just kind of combat reflexes or opportunity attack. The only odd one we saw was Pluk. So, leveling up is probably where Philanen actually sees a little bit better play. Arcane Absorption, while you have Arcane Ward, your range and close attacks gain +1 damage. Okay, good. 3 damage is nice. And then the other one is Projected Ward. When you gain Arcane Ward, a friendly character at range 1 to 3 also gains Arcane Ward. That's good also. It's really hard to gauge support figures. Philanen... Man, Philanen is a little hard to judge. Arcane Ward is fine, but Philanen is also kind of ignorable. Because Philanen only moves 3. Only does 2 damage. Could slow you. That's big. Could also dispel. But outside of that, like... I don't know, Philanen doesn't really do a lot. Not a lot on... not a lot of bonuses for me. Let's see if any of these others are better. We'll come back to Philanen when we get to team building. Let's talk about Sarzumina, the rogue, who is a melee. I believe that's melee. Yeah, melee damage. We've got the standard attack, Kukri, 1 enemy at range 1, +6 to hit, +6 to hit. Okay, 2 damage. Then you got the standard range, throwing, 1 enemy at range 2 to 3, +4 to hit, 1 damage. Critical. The target gains poisoned. If it is already poisoned, it suffers +2 damage. Sneak attack. This is an ability. +1 damage with your close if a friendly character is adjacent to your target. +1 damage with your range if you have cover from your target. Cool. Dishing out some damage. So Sarzumina is a good damage dealer thus far. 4 movement, okay. 14 defense, 11 health, solid. That's the average, as we determined for many arrows. Gain 1 XP after you deal damage with sneak attack. That's probably likely. If you're a good player, you're going to be able to get sneak attack going pretty well. Cooldown abilities. Wyvern Venom, standard, 4-turn cooldown. Target 1 enemy at range 1 to 3, +5 to hit, 3 damage. If hit, target gains poison. Nice. That's solid. Poison is nice. Ghost Walk. Bonus action. It's once per game. Gain Ghost Walker. Gain +1 warp or teleport. I don't really know what that's called, but it's the warping symbol. And ignore elevation, blocking, hindering, and minis while moving. Okay. So bonus action allows you to move. Allows you to warp 1, and then you could just move your 4, ignoring everything. I like that. That's good. Being able to get Sarzumina in there to start poisoning, dealing damage, nice. Reaction is once again just opportunity attack. The level up abilities is Whispers of the Dead, heal 1 whenever an enemy is defeated at range 1 to 2, and then the one you're probably doing more often is Wails from the Grave. After you deal damage with sneak attack, you may deal 1 damage to a different enemy in range 1 to 3. Free damage is good. Like, just being able to say, oh, I'm dealing 1 damage to a different enemy within range without having to roll or anything. That's great, especially since it doesn't really target. It just says deal 1 damage. That can be vital in certain cases. Problem with Sarzumina is that she does combat with Yvolda, who I think is arguably better than her. Like, that's tough. That's a toughie. I'll have to think about that one. Let's cover the last 2, and then we'll circle back. We've got a healer. Up next, Diyar Muid. Diyar the Cleric. Short, standard short close attack is 1 enemy at range 1 +3 to hit, 2 damage. And then range is Fey Guidance. Oh, this is not a standard. Fey Guidance is a bonus. 1 enemy at range 1, they gain Fey Guidance +5 to hit with basic attacks. Okay. Alright. Dire is something interesting. Doesn't have a ranged attack, but does have a bonus action they could do. Just there's no cooldown, so each turn, if they're next to somebody and next to a friendly character, they can give them +5 to hit. I like that's a good way of using guidance, like from D&D. Like I like that method of like applying guidance to the game. Guidance is always that tricky thing where as a DM you really don't want your characters using guidance for every single roll. So interesting. For critical, you may reduce the cooldown of one of your cooldown dials by 3. Okay. Well, okay. You'll see why the cooldowns are pretty lengthy for the 2 that Dire has. Dire does have flight. You ignore elevation hindering an impassable terrain while moving and attacking. Interesting. Okay. Now, Dire doesn't have a ranged attack outside of... no, Dire doesn't have a ranged attack, so don't worry about, like, unless Dire gets one of the, maybe equipment, like a bow or something that gives a ranged attack, Dire would be able just to shoot through anything without them having cover. 4 movement, 16 defense, only 8 health. Gains 1 XP after a friendly at range 1 to 3 hits with a close attack. That's probably happening. So Dire's probably leveling up pretty quickly. Because you have, if you go Yvolda and Plu, Dire's probably getting multiple hits in. Or, sorry, multiple XP because they're hitting with a lot of close attacks. Or if you go with... Oh my goodness, wait. So, hits with an attack. I mean, it's a separate attack. You have the potential of just leveling him up outright. If you go with Clonk that hits with Flurry of Blows, say hits 3 people, it's gain 1 XP after a friendly enemy at range 1 to 3 hits with a close attack. Clonk is making a close attack against all adjacent characters, and each one is a separate attack. So Dire can level up pretty quickly if set up right. Alright, so I'm on board with Dire right now. Cooldown abilities, Fey Illumination. Standard 4 turn cooldown. Target 1 space in range 1 to 4 +5 to hit. Splash of 1. If hit, minis gain Illuminated. So what is Illuminated, you ask? Wonderful question. Illuminated. When a character gains an Illuminated token, they must discard their invisibility and stealth tokens and cannot gain those tokens while they have Illuminated. If a character with an Illuminated token is hit by a melee basic attack, that hit becomes a critical hit and Illuminated is discarded. Okay, so you... Alright, Dire is like shooting up my rankings of many arrows for sure. Being able to potentially allow some of your other many arrows to critically hit. I'm thinking specifically of... who am I thinking of specifically? Falanin is good. Critical for Sarzumina means poison gives 2 instead. If Dire hits, now it is a fading, so it doesn't last a whole turn, so Dire couldn't do it. But Snux could do it. No, you couldn't play Snux. Yeah, I mean, that just means you probably get an additional attack. I mean, Clonk would be good. That would really ramp up Dire's leveling up, because after the attack, you illuminate, Clonk goes in, makes a lot of attacks. Oh, and they could all be critical. Oh my goodness. That is a lot. Okay. All right. Before we get too excited, the other cooldown ability for Diremund is Cure Wounds, standard 5-turn cooldown. 1 friendly at range 0 to 5, heal 5. That's awesome. For a team that has a lot of HP, that's great. 5 is a fantastic number. And then the, guess what? Reaction is just opportunity attack. Whoop-de-doo. Now, I mentioned Dire has the potential of really leveling up quickly. So the 2 level up abilities is Grip of the Forest. Grip of the Forest is bonus, and then it has kind of like when we talked about Red Wizards. When we talked about, man, what is her name? I'm blanking. Hold on. When we were talking about Jelana, with the abilities that had their own tokens to them. The level ability of Dire has something very similar. Spend one resource, essentially. Target one enemy at range 1 to 4, plus 5 to hit. Damage 1, the target gains rooted, and you may move it up to 3 spaces. I love me some rooted. Give me some more rooted. That is awesome. And then the other one is wind barrier. Standard once per game, basically. Place a wind barrier fully within range 1 to 3. It cannot overlap minis or blocking terrain. Wind barrier is a hindering terrain and blocks line of sight as if it were blocking terrain. If a mini activates on a wind barrier token or moves onto it during its move, it suffers 2 damage. It is a fading effect, so it would go away. So right now, Daremoon trumps, in my head, Snux. Sorry, Snux. I really, really like Daremoon. Daremoon might make many arrows a lot better. Daremoon does do that, let me be honest. But before we jump the gun, let me cover the last character, Tactician, by the name of Thurkir the Wise. Thurk has Bite, standard, 1 enemy at range 1, plus 5 to hit, 2 damage. Range attack, Grasp of Hadar, standard, 1 enemy at range 2 to 4, plus 4 to hit, 2 damage. If you hit a non-champion target, you may move it up to 2 spaces towards you. Okay, so we're talking like a NPC or like a goblin, a gnoll, something like that. Critical plus 1 damage and heal 1 if attacking with your close attack. 4 movement, 12 defense, 10 health. Gain 1 XP after you gain a condition token. Sounds to me like Thurkir is going to have a way to gain conditions. Let's see. First cooldown ability, Grant Invisibility. Bonus action, 4-turn cooldown. Target one friendly at range 0 to 1. It gains invisible. So granting invisible, pretty solid. Once again, invisible if you don't know. Monsters ignore invisible characters when resolving their activations. Invisible characters cannot be target of attacks that are not AoE or cone attacks. The second cooldown is a once per game standard Beguiling Aura. Gain Beguiling Aura. Gain plus 3 defense, and enemies adjacent to you cannot attack you. Okay. That's neat, I guess. And then Misty, the reaction, finally, something new. Misty Escape. 3-turn cooldown. After you suffer damage, Warp 3. Cool. Leveling up abilities, Beguiling Defenses, plus 3 defense. Okay. 12 to 15, once again, don't like it. Instill Fear is the other one. Bonus action, once per game, basically. 1 enemy at range 1 to 3, plus 4 to hit, I should say. Target gains Afraid. They cannot move within 5 range of Thurkir and must move beyond 5 range if closer. That is good. If you're playing a capture the point, King of the Hill type scenario, Thurkir might be useful there. You have to level them up to really do that. But pretty good with that. I like that. Fortunately, Thurkir doesn't really do much otherwise. Thurkir just doesn't. 2 plus 5 to hit, 2 damage. 1 enemy at range 2. But Thurkir is competing with Plug for the Tactician spot. They both kind of don't do a ton. Plug at least gives you another attack. So Plug I would play ahead. So I think that brings me to the point of if I'm building a many arrows team, what would I be playing? I think that's a lot of questions on people's minds is what would you be playing if you're playing many arrows? Right off the back, I know I'm playing Dire Muid, the healer. Fantastic piece. Every ability is pretty clutch. Perfect, great character. That is your healer. So I'm writing that down. I'm playing Dire. That's my healer. For my damage, I do like the Plu and Yvolda combo. So that'll put Plukwa as my tactician. That would put Yvolda as my melee, which is fine also because remember, Dire also has the capability of rooting or not rooting, I'm sorry, has the possibility of allowing crits, which could help with the rooting part. That gives me 2 more spots for a team of 5. There's only 1 ranged attacker, so I'm looking at either a Vanguard, a Hybrid, or a ranged attacker. Clonk isn't bad. Bryn isn't bad. You could go with either of those, because I don't like Philanen. I like Paw over Philanen as a Vanguard. His critical is just more damage. So really, it boils down to, are we playing Bryn, Clonk, Paw? 2 out of those 3 is what we're boiling down to. And I think there's not a wrong answer out of all of those. I think you probably go Bryn for the damage potential, because Bryn is your hybrid. That does work, right? Yes, it does work. So you go Bryn, and then you decide between Clonk and Paw. Clonk would, if it's a like capture the point where everyone's going to be in a small space or close together, Clonk would probably be better, because he's able to kind of go in there, splash around, Searing Sunburst, Flurry of Blows, deal a lot of damage. If it's more of you need to tie up their pieces, you need to go in there, do some damage, and just, be in their face, take some hits, Paw might be better. But I think right off the bat, if I'm just building just a generic team of characters for Many Arrows to cover all these scenarios, I'm probably leaning Yvolda, Clonk, Bryn, Pluke, and Daiar, to be honest. Those 5. I think Many Arrows are good candidates for Sellswords to come in and kind of fill some of the spaces. I'm going to cover Sellswords next week and talk about the characters themselves, but also talk about key places you might want to play a Sellsword. The Sellswords are pretty okay. It's a very cool concept. I think Many Arrows probably has the best opportunity to slide them in. Red Wizards maybe, because of their low HP, and some of the Sellswords has a much better HP. But that's kind of it for the Many Arrows. I can see now, in retrospect, why it's not played as much. It's not as splashy as Red Wizards or Zentarum or Harper's. It's missing a little bit. It's got some support pieces that just don't add a lot. Like, there's a few characters that I'm just looking at that I'm like Philanen. I might just be missing the point of Philanen. But Philanen just doesn't do enough for me to be excited about. Thurkir, I can see the benefit of Thurkir. Sarzumina is great. I wish Sarzumina was not a melee attacker, because I want to play Yvolda a lot. So I can't play Sarzumina. Snux, we started with Snux. Snux isn't bad. Not bad at all. But I feel like if you're not playing Diremund, you're making bad decisions. Diremund is just an incredibly good, if not one of the best healers in the game, just based off of all the things that Diremund can do. I mean, Diremund gives just adjacent person +5 to hit, and it's a bonus action. He has no other bonus actions. That's all he's doing. Outside of, obviously, right, looting or equipping items and whatnot. And I haven't really touched on equipping items. That's something I'll try to cover potentially in the episode leading up to Worlds. I'll talk more about what items to bring, what equipment treasure to bring, because that is a key part of the game people forget about, is that the equipment that you find in the Benefactor set, the Benefactor expansion, or I don't know what it's called, scenario pack. Those items I think are by far better than the ones in the main set, but you got to look at them because there's some that may not just work with your team as well as you would hope. But that's going to do it for this episode of Whiz. Thanks for hanging out with me and talking about the last faction that it's not the last. We're going to talk Sellswords. You can't build a team of only Sellswords yet. I assume we're eventually going to get an expansion pack. Maybe that's what we see at Worlds, is the expansion pack for Sellswords to make it their own faction. But thanks for joining me with this. Many Arrows, man, is better than I thought, but I'm going to have to really look deep into Sellswords to see if they can make up for some of the deficiencies. But yeah, you know, if you like what you hear, no, I don't want to say like what you hear, hit subscribe or whatnot. But you know, stay tuned for Friday's episode of Hero Clicks. We're going to talk more about leading up the worlds. Talking probably more about Team Worlds and Notorious. We'll take a look at Notorious from a casual standpoint. So if you're playing BRs or if you're playing in Team Worlds, which we're all hoping it's Notorious, we'll talk about that. Otherwise, if you're only here for Onslaught, once again, next week we'll talk about Cell Swords. Thank you guys for listening, and you guys have a fantastic day.